Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, That Model Railway Guy, for a very exciting video today. Some of you may have seen that I recently visited Rapido to film their latest announcement, the Caledonia Fireless Loco. But the main purpose of that visit was actually to take a look at all their other upcoming models, a lot of which are already at the running sample stage. Now, Rapido very kindly let me essentially take over their office test track for an entire day, just so that I could spend some time with all the prototypes. But they also let me film them so that I can share all their progress in this video with you guys. So, without further ado, let's dive straight in and see what Rapido have been working on. The first thing I got to see was the working livery samples of the Metropolitan E Class. These are really nice models that I believe aren't very far away now. I think they're actually due to arrive later this year. There's something so appealing about these locos though. I don't know whether it's the unusual 044 wheel arrangement or the lovely maroon London Transport livery, but yeah, there's something really special about these models. As you can see, the decoration on these is fantastic. I love all the yellow and black lining on the sides and the back, but yeah, something that really caught my eye as well was the complex pipework around the whistle, which looks really great. I was also asked to point out the Metropolitan wagons directly behind the Loco too, which are part of the private owner range of wagons that Rapido are doing as well. By the way, if you haven't already pre-ordered an E-Class yet, well, you really shouldn't be waiting around. The order deadline, I believe, has already passed and there's only going to be a limited amount left now. So yeah, if you like the look of it, make sure you get your order in if you haven't already. While I was at Rapido, a package actually arrived containing the very first running samples of the long-awaited LB&SCR E1, and I got to witness the models being tried out for the very first time. Now, with everything that I'm showing you today, this is still a work in progress. Rapido are aware of some issues with these which are already being worked on, but even so, it's really nice to see progress being made on this project. Seeing these in person made me realise just how much bigger the E1 is over a Terrier. Although the general shape and design look similar, there really is a lot more to these engines, and I have to admit, after seeing this early sample running around, I'm even more excited to see the finished models in the future. Something else that was really cool to see was the working samples of the 44XX. Here you can see in particular the mix of both the highly detailed plastic parts and the black die-cast sections too, which give the Loco some extra weight. These look to be shaping up really nicely, but of course this isn't the only thing Rapido have on offer for Great Western modelers. They also have a huge selection of wagons to run with this Loco too. These are the 5-plank open wagons, and I believe these are actually final production ones rather than just livery samples. We also have the Great Western banana vans too, also final production versions, and you can see these have a really wide variety of little differences across the range. The great thing about both these sets of wagons is that they're on their way to the UK right now, so they should be arriving with Rapido and retailers very, very soon. You have to admit though, they look really fantastic, and there's a great selection here to make up a nice long freight train. And of course it's capped off with the towed brake van at the back there too. Once again, you can see the 44XX had absolutely no trouble whatsoever hauling this lengthy train around the test track, and yeah, this would be quite something to have on a Great Western layout. But that's not all, because Rapido have also been busy working on the B-set coaches. These are coming along really nicely, and it's awesome to see the amount of detail on these coaches both inside and out. The roofs simply unclip so you can get access to fit passengers, and yeah, the interior of these coaches, even undecorated, looks really nice. Some of the printed detail Rapido were telling me they're planning to include in these compartments too is absolutely mind-boggling, and something I can't wait to see. And these coaches also feature lighting too, provided by an LED bar connected to the underside of the roof. This also has a capacitor to prevent any flickering, which neatly slots in behind a false wall at the end of each coach, which also hides the power contacts. And even under the bright lighting here, you can see these illuminate the interiors quite nicely. There's also a prototypical bar connection between the carriages, which provides some nice close coupling, and just in general these have loads of detail the more you look at them. You can see these look absolutely perfect running with the 44XX, and honestly this is one of the great things about Rapido, is that a lot of the time they don't just make one-off models, but they sort of have mini ranges that all complement each other. If you're modelling a Great Western branch line, well, a 44XX with a B-set and a few of the GWR wagons would be a really great foundation to start from. In fact, you don't need a lot more than that, and considering that it's all available from one manufacturer is pretty impressive. Now, while I was at Rapido, they were telling me what it's like running a model railway company, how they work with the factories out in China, but more importantly, how they decide how many of a certain model they're going to make. Most model railway companies will make a big batch of models and then ship those out to customers and retailers, but Rapido do things differently because they have order deadlines for all of their products. Once that deadline has passed, Rapido then count up the amount of pre-orders they've got for each model, whether through direct sales or through the retailers, and then that's the amount of models that they make, with a few extra to cover all eventualities. This means though that some models have really short runs, which works especially well for the more niche locos that we know Rapido like to do. Models which aren't really feasible for other companies because they'd have to do a much larger amount which may not end up selling out. But for even larger runs, this works well too, because again, Rapido make enough to cover all of the pre-orders, which avoids retailers having to cancel any orders because they haven't received enough stock to cover them. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this though is because those order deadlines aren't just arbitrary dates. If you want to be guaranteed to get a specific model, then you need to order before those deadlines. There isn't going to be a huge warehouse of stock hanging around that you can just order from in the future. The models arrive and then they're shipped straight out to customers. So what I'm saying here is that if you see a model in this video that you like the look of and you've been thinking about getting one for your layout, well, get a pre-order in as soon as possible if you haven't already. And yes, obviously I'm trying to push sales for Rapido here, but only because I know that there will be people who do leave it too late and then will be disappointed when they can't get hold of something later on. So believe me, it's best for everyone to get your pre-orders in as soon as possible. Rapido can more accurately judge the popularity of their upcoming models, and you lock that order in so that you can be certain you'll receive it in the future. Of course, not every upcoming model from Rapido is at the running sample stage just yet, but that doesn't mean we can't take a look at them. For example, this is the brand new Caledonia Fireless locomotive that Rapido have just announced. The models are currently in tooling, but in the meantime this is a 3D printed sample that really gives you a good idea of how the physical model will look when it arrives. And by the way, anyone who wants more information on this latest Loco announcement from Rapido, well, you can check out the specific video I made recently which has all the details on all the different versions and liveries that have been announced. I also got to take a look at the SE&CR E1 that Rapido are working on. Again, this is a 3D print of the initial CAD work, but already the model is shaping up really nicely. When these do eventually arrive, I can see them being very popular indeed, especially considering that Rapido have already produced a great range of SE&CR wagons that will look perfect with the O1. And the last of these really early samples is the J52. Likewise, I can see a lot of people wanting one of these, and Rapido are making the most of it by covering both the early GNR liveries as well as the LNER and British Railways versions too. Back to working prototypes now though, and speaking of the GNR, one popular locomotive from Rapido's past that is making a very welcome return is the Stirling Single. Here you can see one of the decorated samples with that brand new low tender tooling which the original prototype was paired up with until 2014. It's nice to see that Rapido aren't just simply rerunning a popular model, but have also decided to add this new variant to the range as well. In addition to that, they were also telling me how they're working on upgrading the sound project for this second run too, so it's interesting that Rapido are constantly looking at improving things to provide the very best models. The order deadline for this second run of the Stirling Single is the 4th of March, so not far away now if you want to be guaranteed of getting one of these. The models themselves are due to arrive at the end of the year as well, so really not too long to wait at all, which makes sense considering that these are at a pretty advanced stage already. One model, or rather set of models, which you may have spotted in the background already, are the Port of Par twins. The prototype of these two tiny locomotives were designed specifically to fit under an 8-foot bridge to reach the China Clay Works, which has resulted in a small industrial tank engine with a very squat appearance. It's really difficult to convey just how tiny these models are, but here you can see one of them next to the E Class that we were looking at a bit earlier to give you some idea of the scale. And you can see I've also got some of the new GWR Loco coal wagons that Rapido also recently announced too. And even though these aren't large wagons, the Port of Par Loco is only just level with the top of them. Of course, it was incredible to see this tiny Bagnall tank engine running around the layout. What's even more impressive though is the amount of features Rapido have managed to fit into this model. For those of you who like your sound-fitted locos, there will be a pre-fitted speaker in this model, and they've even told me that they're working to put a Keep Alive in these too, given just how short that wheelbase is. Another tiny Loco from Rapido is the upcoming Y7. This charming little 040 from the NER almost has the proportions of a toy train, but it actually is a real locomotive. The running sample looks really nice and smooth, and I imagine that that's in thanks part to the flywheel that Rapido have managed to fit in this Loco. Again, these Locos have a pre-fitted speaker for both the DCC ready and the sound fitted versions, and it's going to arrive in 9 different liveries too, which covers the pre-grouping NER colour schemes right through to the British Railways and even the current day preserved livery too. The order deadline for these has only just passed. It was the 12th of February, I think. So if you haven't already ordered one of these and you want to get one, make sure you get your order in now so that you don't miss out. These supposedly aren't too far away either. They're currently listed as Q3 for this year, I believe. So hopefully we might be seeing the decorated samples very soon as well. Something I was really excited to see though were the working livery samples of the Highland Railway Jones goods. It's been a couple of years since these were announced, but work has continued on in the background, and you can see this original pre-grouping livery looks absolutely fantastic. The showstopper though, as you can already hear, is that they were testing out the sound profile for this Loco too. Rapido did say that there were several issues they've already picked up on with these samples, but even so, the lining in particular on the wheels and the frames looks incredible. Even between the wheels, you can see Rapido have paid real attention to the small little details here. I was also able to film an LMS lined version too, just for those of you who prefer your locomotives black. And obviously, again, this was a sound-fitted model, which really does bring the Loco to life. Now, as with everything today, this is also a work in progress. The Rapido team were actually telling me about some exciting new features they've been talking to ESU with that they're hoping to be able to include on this Loco. These were really good fun to play with though, testing out all the different functions, and yeah, it's so exciting to see how sound features have moved on from just a simple chuff and a few whistles. You might also have spotted the very first 3D prints of the new Caledonian 10-ton vans in the train too. I believe these weren't running on the correct wheels at the time, so obviously be aware of that. But yeah, this will actually be the first ready-to-run Caledonian wagon ever produced. And that is everything I was able to take a look at, but there's certainly quite a lot to look forward to, especially if you're a Steam-era fan. Rapido really are building up quite a range, and of course this is just the stuff they've announced so far. I must say a huge thank you to Rapido for allowing me to stop by and essentially get every Loco and every bit of rolling stock out on their test track. It was really great to take a peek behind the curtain and to be able to share this information with you guys too, so I really do hope you've enjoyed this video. Of course, if any of the models you've seen today have piqued your interest, then like I said earlier, make sure you get your pre-orders in now, because if you leave it until the models arrive, well, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to get hold of them. And with that said, I'm going to take my own advice and head off and add some more pre-orders to my ever-expanding list. Thank you so much for watching everybody, please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!